Nicole Ponce, and I have a couple of businesses. My first one is my counseling practice. So that's just me and a couple of employees, but it's called Nicole Ponce Counseling, and I've been doing it for about 7 to 8 years. And then my second business is Halcyon Holistic Healing Circle that just opened up in November with my friend and partner Megan. And that's more of a wellness center where we host workshops and classes, and we also have our counseling running out of the same offices.
Awesome. And you just had a baby, your
I
second.
just had a baby, yep. In December, yep.
Lots going on.
Mhm,
Okay, so and you do the social media. Do you have different social platforms for both businesses?
mhm, yep.
Okay, so you're doing different social media, and then are they all on the same platforms? Like, are they both on TikTok, both on Instagram?
Both Instagram. So I have my house sounds only really on Instagram. We have a Facebook group, but it's not very active. And then my Nicole Ponce Counseling is on Facebook, Instagram. I have a TikTok that I upload the same videos, but it's under the Anxious Ladybug, which is my blog. It's like a my tag for my blog. So, but it's all kind of the same. I use the same video across all platforms. So,
And then, you also do a lot of yoga stuff. Is that more of your personal, or I
mhm,
mean, you do it with okay, that's what I
yeah.
was to see, like, I kinda do the same thing. I have my personal Instagram that's I'll do some of my social media stuff, some of my yoga stuff, and then TikTok is also both yoga and social media, but then
Mhm.
Facebook, I have, like, the dedicated Be Connected one, and, same with, like, LinkedIn. I tried putting yoga stuff on LinkedIn once, and it was horrible,
Oh
like,
no.
horrible. It it was one of my first video pieces also,
Mhm.
which I have a really hard time creating video content, and I kept it up there because 'cause I'm like, "You know what? This is where I started from. I'm gonna leave it," but every time I see it, I'm like, I cringe a little bit, like,
Well, what's
so
with LinkedIn? I haven't figured it out. I have one, but I have not figured it out at all. Is it just because it's more professional, or what makes it not
well,
transferable?
so I honestly think that yes, it's more professional. I think people who think that, Instagram and Pinterest and this is a personal opinion, not a professional opinion right now. I think that the people that think that social media is just ridiculous and they're like, but LinkedIn is professional and this is networking, and so they post more on there. However, I do see some of the same interactions and people will post humorous stuff now and video content. But the thing that I've noticed is that people are more hesitant to interact on LinkedIn than they are on other platforms unless it's specifically geared to engaging their network. So I posted something that was like an image that was not really like risque. But it was definitely more uh, something that probably would be a little bit better for Instagram, the graphic was, but it was funny. I mean, it was funny. It was a good one, and so many people viewed it, and no one interacted with it. So I could
Interesting.
see on the metrics on the back end that they're all looking at they're like, "Oh, it caught their attention."
Mm,
And I think that, they're a little hesitant because you can see if I like a post on LinkedIn,
right.
network is like, "Oh, B liked this post or commented on it." So
Makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, it is a great platform, especially if y'all wanna get into, like, corporate wellness or other businesses that you're connecting with, if there's other, like, I think it's again, more for networking. So, since y'all I know, I feel like I'm gonna pronounce it wrong, Halcyon?
Yeah, you got
Yeah.
it.
Like, I know y'all are connecting with a whole lot of wellness providers in Sugarland, that LinkedIn might be a good place for you just to meet some of those other wellness providers. But, you're doing so much right now on all these other platforms, you might not even need that.
Yeah, maybe someday.
Maybe someday you'll add it on to the,
Mhm.
the
The
agenda
list of
with
things.
all yeah. So what inspired you to start your business or to get into the therapy and wellness industry?
I don't know. I think I've always just, when I was growing up, I either wanted to be a writer or a mental health provider of some sort. It's just those are the two paths I wanted to take, and I ended up deciding to go with psychology just for, I don't know, had to pick one. So I do some writing still on the side, but this is kind of definitely a more easy path to get to where I wanted to go. And I graduated pretty early in my career and just kind of started in the community and slowly worked my way up to private practice. I actually didn't intend to do private practice, but the universe kind of kept pushing me that way. So I just decided to listen, and it's been pretty good since then.
That's amazing. I love that. Okay, so how does social media now fit into your overall business strategy?
I mean, it's probably the main thing that I do to try and recruit more or get more people to come to counseling. I try to do a lot, at least with my Nicole Ponce counseling one. I do a lot of educational videos, almost exclusively. I do some quotes, but mostly it's just videos to try and help people get little tidbits. A lot of people, they're self healers, so they just want to do what they can from home, which I think they can. I don't think you have to go to therapy to heal, but it's just kind of providing information I have, and if it's something they want to dive deeper into, then they'll reach out. So that's been one of the main ways I've been getting people to reach out is because they can kind of see my personality, they can kind of see my knowledge that I have, and inspires them to reach out and want to dive a little deeper. So it's been pretty good so far, especially with the reels. I would say any other posts that I have are not very. They don't really do anything, gain much traction, but reels for sure have been good.
Yeah, I mean, you do a lot of reels. I've noticed a lot of video content, more so it seems lately, or I'm just seeing it more now of your face and you're talking at the camera. And I do think that people they want to see more people, and it doesn't have to be this whole like production with microphones and lights and everything. I'm actually purposely not using a ring light, even though I have a ring light and a microphone actually for these videos, because I want to show how simple it is to create content for people who, have the basics.
Yeah.
Um, People want more of that genuine, authentic connection. And I've seen that you really provide that. And I love how you said, like, you don't recommend, you're not pushing therapy on people. You're more of like, this is the way you can do it yourself. But if you need a little bit more,
Yeah.
I'm here to support you. And that's really what we do with Be Connected. And that's kind of what I mean, a completely different aspect, mine social media, yours mental health, but like we want to show people how they can do it themselves, and then if they need more support, like yeah, for sure, we're here to help do it for you. But really, a lot of this can be done by yourself unless it's you don't a lot of people just don't want to, they don't want to do the social media. Like I don't really want to. I'm trying to think, like, oh, websites. I used to do websites at the beginning and I was like, nope, I know how, I don't want to do it. Like,
Yeah, I think it's
so
fortunately for me, it's kind of come easily to me, but I could see if it wasn't something that I could just do with, in 5 minutes, then I probably would outsource. But it's, I've been fortunate that I'm able to. But I think like similar to what you're saying, when if I do ever decide to outsource social media, I already have you in my mind just because you've given me so much tidbits and information that you would be the person I'd go to just because of that. So I think that's the thing about giving people free bits is that then you're already part of their process.
yes, that's exactly. I tell people when they're, and I think we said this because you were in the webinar, that when you're thinking of who you're targeting on social media, think of who your client is, your ideal client, a year before they ever come to you. And that's who you're engaging with. Because by the time they're ready for your service, like they're already so,
Yeah.
enmeshed, and they know that you're the thought leader and they go to you for all things social media or all things mental health. And
Mhm.
so I love that. I love that you already are doing that. It's really, I'm not, it's so funny because I'm in marketing, but I joke that like I'm not your typical marketer. Like I'm not sales. I don't try to push things on people. I'm more, and even the clients that we go with are clients that we really believe in. And we're like,
Yeah.
okay, their services or product speaks for itself,
Yeah.
And so we're just basically shining it to the right audience,
Yeah.
So that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think sale like when people push sales, it's a turnoff. I think people aren't dumb, and when I feel like somebody's pushing a sale at me or tricking me into a sale, I feel like I don't want to be tricked, and then it just turns me off, right? So,
Right. Yeah,
yeah,
same. And so I guess you do it. I think we're kind of similar in that, in the way that we market is like, this is the way that I'd like to be marketed to. So I'm just going to show you and take it or leave it.
yeah,
I think that's my, business personality. Take it or leave it. Like,
that's good.
okay. So how do you come up with your ideas for social media content?
So most of the time, so I have a squirrel brain. I'm thinking 15 things at any given moment. So a lot of times I get them. I'm in session and I'm inspired by something a client says, or kind of something that happens in the process, or it reminds me of something that I used to teach all the time. Like, oh yeah, that's a good tidbit. And then after session, I might make a note or something if something comes to me. Most of the time, I don't do like a, they recommend having like a creative thought bubble where you sit there and you try to think. That does not work for me. It has to just come naturally. So I'll do that for my Nicole Ponce counseling. For Halcyon, it's a little different. We're trying to be a little bit funnier. I'm not super funny by by nature, I don't think. But Megan's really funny. Is my
Yeah.
partner. So she does a lot of the humor stuff, and I'll do like CapCut. You taught me about CapCut, so it's pretty easy. You go in there, and then you just kind of see what they have, and you get inspired by an idea. So a little bit of just seeing what inspiration comes, and making notes and making content when I can.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I find that most of my great ideas come to me at either like 2 AM. I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, "Oh, this would be good." So I'll make a little note in my phone. Or when I'm working out for some reason, like if I'm exercising, not saying that I do that all the time. I have gotten out of my habits, but like if I'm middle of a yoga class, which is actually kind of terrible. Like I'm mid yoga class and I'm like, oh, let me real quick put this in my phone so I don't I'm like, I know I should, check out, but
You
I
can
don't
do whatever is good for you in a yoga class.
exactly, exactly. It's my practice. So um so okay, so you don't do like do you do any kind of content calendars or anything like that where you planning or it's literally you just
We
on
we did a content calendar. So Megan's better with structure. I'm not a structured person, so when I do structure, it actually makes it worse. So for her, we created like a here's your days and here's the kind of thing you're going to post on
uh,
those days. For me, I have a list in my head of okay, I have to do a reel, I have to do a story time, I have to do like four things that I have to do sometime this week, and I'll just kind of like casually check them off as I go through the week. So that's
uh,
how my structure is, and hers is a little bit more Tuesday I do a quote. Wednesday I do, whatever,
yeah.
whatever we have.
And that's, I've noticed, with our team, we have different social media managers and I have the way that I do things, and I've learned that does not necessarily work for everyone
Mhm.
else. And so I'll show them this is my way of doing things, but maybe you're going to find a system that works better for you, like writing,
Mhm.
having a list that you check off, or having Grace, who was in the I'm not sure if y'all met in person, but she was on the webinar. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
she will work together sometimes. And I like to have my calendar. I have to have it on the computer where I can look at it. And then I also have to write it down in my planner. And she has to have it printed out, has to write each thing on, so everyone's different. And I
Yeah.
think there's so many different ways of planning out your content or figuring out what you're going to post. And try a bunch of different ones until you find what works for you because trying to
Mhm.
fit into someone else's bubble is not going to work. So even though we have these tools and this works for me, um might not work. Like you would probably hate my content calendar then. Like
Yeah, I
that.
can't do it. For some reason, organization makes me like I get irritable when it's too organized. It sounds crazy, but I
No,
need chaos a little bit to be able to focus.
that's good. That's good because I mean, kids and multiple businesses and
Yeah, that's sure it's
they're
chaotic.
like, I
Yep.
thrive in this. I was born
Yep.
It's funny as I always say, I'm like, "I just want peace. I really like peace." And I'm like, "Do I though?" Because I keep, like, adopting more animals and
Yeah.
adding on more hobbies, and it's like, maybe that's not what I
Yeah.
want,
Maybe just take that rhetoric out of your out of your language. I
right?
like to be busy. Yep.
Right. Okay, so we kind of already covered some of these topics just in conversation. I'm scrolling past some of my other questions. What types of content have you found to be most effective in engaging your audience? I know you said video, but is there anything else or any particular videos? What have you found?
So I've taken some copywriting courses that have helped me when I'm trying to hook people a little bit more. I don't want them all to be that way, but when there's something that's kind of flashy, like I just made one that said breathing techniques don't work, and that's like the hook. People are like, huh? Breathing techniques don't work, and then it's not true. Breathing techniques do work, but the whole video is kind of like the hook gets them, and then I explain why they don't work for people and what you can do to actually make them work. And it's kind of like what do they call it? An open loop, or you have to close the loop at the end.
Yeah.
And so those work well as far as getting lots of views, so getting more numbers. But people really do just like what can you do from home fast? They want information quick. Here's a quick technique. I show it to them real fast. I don't talk too much, and those are the ones that tend to do well. People are like, thank you so much. That was very quick and effective, and I can use it right now. So
Yeah.
stuff that people can leave after 30 seconds and feel like they have something, a new tool.
And to get that tool under 30 seconds. That's my problem is I talk too much. So
Yeah,
trying to like
that's
narrow
the hard
it
part.
down. But that's so smart. I like that. I've actually seen that a lot lately now, and I even did it. I said something I can't on LinkedIn. It was like social media metrics don't matter, and that actually got a whole lot of views.
Mhm.
I have another one. I have a bunch actually, but some of them I actually believe. Like the timing of the day of the post, like what time you post it doesn't really matter, which I'm sure I'm going to get some flack for, but I actually believe that one. That's a whole nother
Yeah.
time. Anyways,
No,
so have you ever dealt with negative feedback or criticism on social media? And if so, how
not
do you handle it?
often, but I had a couple of negative comments. I mean, my posts are pretty neutral. I'm not very I don't say anything that's too aggressive that people get upset with, but I have had a couple, and I think it's most of the time it's from people that didn't understand the message. And my first instinct, obviously, I think even oh no, they didn't like it, or like a little like should I just delete it, right? Like even though it's just one person that says it, says it. Um, but then I don't. I just don't respond to negative feedback, and I usually will just leave it there too because maybe somebody else agrees with it. Maybe it'll start a conversation underneath the post. So um, it's only been a couple of times though, but it does make me anxious when I see it.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to someone else, I think it was in the first one, like, we it is putting a little bit of a piece of you out there. And so it's hard to you get that negative feedback, or even you only get maybe like 50 views and one like. That kind of feels like negative feedback in a different way, right? And it's like I just put a bunch of work and I put myself out there, and now I'm not. So it's like almost like this. And it's funny because sometimes I think, okay, I'm 40, I shouldn't be this insecure. Like this is, so
Yeah.
silly. But then there is an insecurity about it. And I've noticed with a lot of our clients, they get very uncomfortable. Some of them love it, born for the camera, born to
Yeah.
put themselves out there. But there is that when you first get started, that uncomfortable feeling of getting, and so how do you get past that? And I guess I'm doing was it exposure therapy where I'm just like I keep
That's good.
posting videos and
Yeah.
so um but I think that I love that you still are doing it because really, I mean, I've seen some of your videos. I found them helpful. I enjoy seeing it. I know you're doing a lot more that I haven't. I'm actually very bad about interacting with other people's posts, which is terrible as a social media manager because I know it matters. And so that's kind of my goal after doing this series with people. I've realized I need to interact, even if I'm not watching the whole video or reading the entire post, because I'm just like, I'm trying to post for a client and I don't want to take away that time. I was like, even just doing the like is so beneficial. So,
Yeah, it does. And I've heard that too. Like you give what you want to receive. So I need to. I'm same thing. I've been trying to be more intentional with sharing other. I mean, people hardly share other businesses' posts, and we all say like how easy it is to support businesses, but then how many of us actually do it too,
right.
right? So it's being more intentional with sharing other people's posts and liking other people's and commenting and you know
Yeah. And like
spreading the positivity.
events, I always say every time I see y'all are doing an event, even if I can't go, I put interested always because I'm like, hey, then my friends will see that I'm interested.
Yeah,
I at
smart.
least see that.
Well,
So,
thank you.
yeah. So how do you think social media marketing differs in your industry compared to other industries, if at all?
So I think, and at least in therapy is a very there's a lot of social media therapists, and it's been pretty. At least from what I've seen, maybe it's just 'cause I'm a therapist. I see, I see the content, but there's a lot of. It's hard to condense a lot of these things into small tidbits. So there is a lot of controversy around what some people put out there, and then we all have different ideas. It's not a hard science. So I think it's some things like teaching people how to do social media probably a little more of a harder science. Like here's the techniques and here's the skills. But with therapy, there's 10 different ways to do therapy, probably more. And we all have different ideas about what's the correct way. So there's a little bit of debate around that. There's a little bit of debate around diagnostics. So I think there's a lot of having to be careful in my, like, I feel like I don't want to say something about ADHD, for example, and then it get taken the wrong way and people are self-diagnosing or people are mad about it. So trying to say things that are just helpful instead of harmful. But
Yeah.
it does. I do have to put a lot of thought into making sure I say things a certain way where I think maybe other people can just say things that are going to draw attention and draw people to them.
Right. I do have a lot more luxury with I mean, I think I've even made comments about how like you have to have a little bit of ADHD to be a social media manager.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, I know better than make comments like that. But it's, I have a little more freedom where you do have a lot, people look to you for really in very difficult times. It's for me, I love therapy. I think everyone should be in therapy. If I could afford it, I mean, I go weekly, but I was like I'd go even more often. I'm like, gosh, it's just such a I've had really I've luckily have benefited from some really great therapists. But I know that there's a lot of people that come and have a hard time or have a hard time talking about it or even admitting to it and have a hard time with the diagnosis. And so yeah, you have to be extremely careful. So that would stress me out a little bit, I think. Like especially before posting and making sure that, it's not just about is someone going to like this or dislike it, but it is what I'm putting out there true and yeah.
Not harmful. Yeah.
Yeah, not harmful. That's the word that I was thinking. So, are there any what advice would you give to other small business owners just starting out with social media?
Consistency. I think anybody will say the same thing, but when I first started my not when I first started my account, but when I first started getting traction, I was posting every single day a video. I stopped doing that since then, but that's when I went from 300 to like over 1,000 followers in 3 weeks, just posting every single day. And then I pulled back because I didn't have time anymore. But I would say that doing consistency has been the biggest thing that helps, and hopefully somebody will be able to be as consistent again and draw more traction. But
Yeah. No, that's dead on. So, that's my answer when someone asked, "Does it really matter what time of day you post?" And I was like, "Honestly, I don't think that it does." And this is not based on hard facts from the algorithm or anything like that. This is just based on my experience is that if posting engaging, consistent content is going to matter a lot more than what time of day you post. So if you
yeah,
do that, I would rather you post at 7 a.m. and the next day at 6 p.m. or 2 a.m. or
yeah,
whatever and get that post out every day with quality content. Don't do a sale post over and over and over again but that's gonna get a lot more. So yeah, that's
yeah.
amazing. That's almost 3 weeks to go that much in followers is crazy. That's
Yeah.
huge. So well great. This was awesome. I was very quick. I can't believe it's already been 25 minutes. Is there anything else that has come up or that you think would be useful to other business owners or even therapists just starting out in social media or marketing or community building, anything that came up that you want to touch on before we end the call?
The only other thing, like advice I could think of, would be follow other people that are like you, and then they'll, like your stuff and you like their stuff, and it kind of creates. I have a ton of therapists I follow, and they follow me, so um, I think that's another piece of advice that's been helpful. But no, otherwise, I think when it's pretty easy once you get the hang of it. Don't overthink it. Just
People are gonna roll their eyes when they hear you say that.
really, it takes me 5 minutes or less to record and post a video.
Yeah,
So as long as you have a thought in your mind, just start talking. Don't overthink it. Don't overscript it.
yeah.
It's pretty easy.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Don't overscript it, don't overthink it, just say what comes out and post it. You know
Yeah.
what? It might not be perfect. It might be like my yoga video on LinkedIn if anyone wants to go scroll through that. Don't just post it because you're gonna get better, and you just have to get comfortable with creating the content, putting it out there, and eventually, this video is way better than my first one I did last week, so
Yeah, it gets better and better.
let's get better. Okay, well, thank you so much, and,
Thank you.
forward to seeing you in person again soon.
Yep, talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.